This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
And a superb goal from Barrett. Oh, the keeper saves it, and there's McGregor. There's the goal. Paul McGregor.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do.
Robertson getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello, welcome to Red Side of the Trent as we review the Sturm Graz 0-0 draw in the Europa League in our fourth match day. We'll also get into some Leeds United preview coming on Sunday, just because we won't have time for a preview beforehand, just because not organised this week for a change. I'd like to be joined by Lee Clark. Lee, how are you?
Yep, all good. Ready for another therapy session?
I know, I think I need it, and I'm normally the optimistic one, aren't I? Normally on this pod, like when it's a bit doom and gloom, but even I've fell out of bed this morning and gone, you know what, I'm not feeling it, and I feel like I've got to project that somewhere, so why not here? But we'll get right into it, because last night I feel like I've titled it as we was woefully wasteful, and I think we were quite right. But we'll start with the team. 7 changes by Sean Dyche, and he said that after the last game that we need to make changes in midweek. So John Victor come in, Morato, Yates got a start. Obviously, he came on at the weekend for Douglas Luiz. Dominguez was back in. Sangare was in. McAtee, Cali Mwendo. Have I missed anyone? There's about 1 million players, isn't there? There's just so many to come in. But was you happy with that when you saw that lineup?
Yeah, I mean, these players need minutes, don't they? And obviously, because we're out of the League Cup, then this is where they're going to get the minutes, which is a bit unfortunate because, you know, you'd like to be able to take this competition as serious as the Premier League, but with our perilous position in the Premier League, it's just not possible. So, yeah, I think when it got to the summer and we signed all these players, I think it was for the intention of nights like this, where you're playing weaker opposition on the Thursday and then you've got a big game in the Premier League on Sunday. So, yeah, it was what I expected. I possibly thought he might play Murillo instead of Milenkovic, just with him being younger, a little bit fitter, a little bit more willing to step into the middle of the pitch a little bit more and put more pressure on the opposition. And I also thought Abbott might get a start, but I'm sure we'll come on to him later in the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I actually thought we started off pretty well. I mean, Nico Williams was getting all sorts of joy down that left-hand side against their fullback, and was unlucky not to get a penalty. I mean, there was a timely challenge to bring him down just outside the box, but we worked that free kick really well, and I'm a bit disappointed that James McAtee is not at the target there, really. It's not. I say it's a well-worked free kick. It's just the opposition switching off, and you see that happen all the time. You even see it in the Premier League when we're so guilty of it, especially. But I expect someone of his quality to have hit the target from there. I don't know what you think. If it was a bit harder, then am I being a bit harsh because of all the bodies or not?
No, you're not being harsh, I don't think. I don't think that's the right term. We are talking a whisker, so he's literally millimetres from getting it right. I don't think he needed to be that precise, to be honest. I think that's. I know this is the whole, big fat man sat on the sofa telling these pro athletes how to do things, but I just don't think he needed to be so precise. Yeah, there was lots of room. Like you say, they'd switched off. There was a massive gape inside of the net where obviously someone was supposed to be on the post, I presume, preparing for that eventuality. But yeah, it was just, you tried to be too accurate, I guess. But yeah, it was nice to see us work something like that from a free kick. Yeah, just touching on what you said about Williams as well there. I think I was talking to someone after the game last night, and I think if we'd been able to play with 2 proper wingers, I think we'd have won the game pretty comfortably. I think even in the second half, that was what robbed us of any real kind of fluidity in the second half. For me, we just didn't. We had too many defensive players on the pitch, really, and that's not a slight on Dyche. Before anyone comes with the lazy, that's what Dyche does. I think it was just a case of what he had available to him. We tried to put Ndoye on, but it still left us kind of unbalanced because there was no one on the other side. So, yeah, I think if, say, Hudson-Odoi had been fit and he'd gone for, just said to Hudson-Odoi and Ndoye, give me 45 minutes, I think we'd have been well outside by half time, to be honest.
You like to think so. I mean, even Cali Mwendo came off with a bit of cramp, but I just thought, like, we took a few youngsters and I just thought, surely one of them can play wide or up front or something. But I know he's not going to take that gamble, I suppose. But we'll get into that later. But I thought set pieces in the first half were pretty good because we should have scored from 3 of them essentially. But because the second one, I think it's a deep free kick from Williams out wide, and I think Milenkovic heads it back across. And Yates is unfortunate not to nod home. It's a good clearance off the line, but he probably should score in hindsight. But again, it's just so wasteful from us. Like you can't get these opportunities every single game. Like I just find it so frustrating because we should have been out of sight.
Yeah, I get. It's the old cliche, isn't it? But I'd be more worried if we weren't creating any chances. As a result, I think the second half performance is a little bit more worrying. But I will give them the credit that, like Dyche alluded to, there's lots of players who were dead on their feet by the end because they've just not had the minutes and they've not had the exposure to this level of football. So, yeah. Like I say, if the first half had panned out like the second, then I'd be sat here this morning extremely concerned. But the law of averages suggests that if you keep creating that many chances in the game, similarly with the Man United game, to be fair, then you're going to have a game where, in theory, eventually things do click and you find yourself going in 2 or 3 to the good at half time. So, yeah, Yates was unlucky as well. I mean, he can't do much else with that either, can he, in that situation? He presumes he's going to score, and the defenders come from nowhere. And shock horror, a team had a really resolute defensive display against us when we desperately need a team to, have a few holes in it, I suppose.
You made quite a good point there. I just want to take it away from the game for a minute. We're making chances, and we was doing this under Ange Postecoglou and not finishing them off. And it's just the same old story, it seems, but we're a little bit more... Maybe we're a bit more conservative in terms of our approach and our defensive display. And maybe this is where you think, well, why weren't Ange like this? Because we was creating really good chances and scoring some goals, especially in the cup games. So it just makes you wonder, what the heck, what the heck was happening? Because I know people aren't happy with Dyche in the grand scheme of things because his persona and his style of football tells you it is more defensive, it's more pragmatic, and a bit more like what Nuno was doing. So people aren't happy because it's not technically progressions, but we're still creating chances. Do you know what I mean? But just players aren't taking responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I know people don't like it, but the thing is with Ange, there was something amiss. I mean, it'll all come out in the wash one day, but the players clearly weren't buying into what he was doing on the Monday to Friday, in training, because you don't all of a sudden become. We've kept 2 clean sheets under Dyche now, and he's only managed 4 games, so you don't all of a sudden start doing that with the same personnel if something's not amiss. So the defensive unit were clearly annoyed at something that was he neglecting defensive stuff on training?
Zinchenko in central midfield.
Yeah, it's just there's something amiss. But what I would say is, like I've just said, it's a case of needs must. We've played 4 games and we kept 2 clean sheets. Now under Ange, we didn't look like keeping 1. So that is, if people are looking for a positive this morning, that's got to be considered a positive. And you also look at the 2 other games where we've not kept clean sheets. The Bournemouth game, they scored the first goal from a corner, which is a complete goalkeeper howler. The longer that game goes on, do they score? Who knows? You just don't know. The Man United game, Man United scored their first goal when the ball was still in play. And we've got to defend the corner better. But again, if that doesn't happen, the assistant doesn't give that, the game goes on. Do we concede in that game? What's to say we do? You could argue that we might not score in that game. We don't have the half-time team talk. We were all annoyed and, come out fighting. But there's not been a performance yet where you think, wow, we're so bad at the back. And yeah, we've all said it's the set pieces situation. But in open play, defensively, we actually look pretty organised and pretty resolute again. So, like I say, if we're clutching for a positive, that probably is one that, although the second half was drab last night, really, really drab. But they didn't really look like doing anything either. We had them at arm's length and with a makeshift defence as well. So that is a little positive for me, certainly.
I suppose it's the finer margins then you're talking about there, because like you say, a direct corner, which wasn't a corner at the time. The like you say, the Man United thing. So yeah, I agree. It's similar to Nuno because when he come in, we were one of the better sides defensively in open play, weren't we? We were conceding far less chances. So I guess you've definitely got a good point there.
I think as well, like now there's a situation where you've got kind of, this is a positive. I don't in any way think this is a negative. Under Ange, we weren't scoring and we weren't keeping clean sheets. So everyone's confidence is on the floor. Whereas now you've got a defensive unit in the dressing room saying to the attackers, look, we've done our job today. We've kept them out. Those chances that we've missed, and I include Gibbs-White in this for missing the penalty, those chances you've missed tonight, you've cost us the 2 points because we haven't. We've done our bit at the back. So there's going to be that sort of, and I think it's healthy to have that because the attackers will be thinking, yeah, he's right, actually. They've done their bit. We've got to step up and start putting the ball in the net a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the penalty. It's good work from Nico Williams again. I mean, he was our biggest threat, I think, in the first half, especially down that left-hand side. He was getting some really good areas. It's just a shame he hasn't got a left foot to use too often than not. But handball, I don't think there's any complaints there. But I don't know if this is because Gibbs-White missed a penalty against us for Sheffield United in the playoffs, so I had it saved by Brees Samba, should I say. And then when we played Wolves in the season after, and I think Jose Sarr was in goal and got a really strong hand to the penalty in that shootout, we've kind of just thought that he just never looks confident. And I don't know if that's us as fans or his body language, but I generally thought he always goes to his right. Will he change? Hopefully not, because why would you when you keep scoring going that way, sort of thing? And then lo and behold, it does change, and it's an absolute abysmal penalty. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to dissect there. Let's address the confidence thing. I personally don't think there's a more confident player than Morgan Gibbs-White. He backs his ability, and that's why I think the fact he is so confident is why people like to presume he's a bit of a bad egg. He's a bit arrogant. So I don't think that's an issue. I think in terms of his run-up, I'll give you that. I think his run-up, any player in world football these days, Rashford does it, there's a few others that do it, and you just never feel overly... It's never like a situation when Pierce used to get the ball. And Pierce has missed penalties, by the way. You used to presume that it was going to go in the net. You used to think, like when Chris Wood gets the ball, you don't ever think Chris Wood's really going to miss a penalty. Certainly not while he's been at Forest. So I always think if you're taking it and putting that little power on a penalty, you've got to lift it a bit, because all the keeper's got to do is pick the right direction, and that's what happened last night. But like I say, Harry Kane is the best striker in world football for me, and if you want to come at me in the comments for that, then fine, because I'll fight anyone who doesn't agree with that. Harry Kane is the best striker in world football. What did he do at the World Cup in a pressurised situation? He skied it over the bar. England went out. Everyone said he was rubbish. He's not. It's just, that's football. It's a pressurised situation anyone can miss. And I know what people are thinking. World Cup quarter-final, Europa League group stage game. It's not the same sort of pressure. But in context of Nottingham Forest, it is, because it's 0-0. The game might finish 0-0. It's 2 points drops, and that's what happened. Morgan Gibbs-White missed. He's not the first star player to miss a penalty. He won't be the last. So again, I decided to stay away from too much social media last night, because I knew exactly what would be on there. Grapple season, he's not very good. We should have sold him to Tottenham. There's a lot of captain hindsight going on with Morgan Gibbs-White at the moment, but all he's guilty for this morning is missing a penalty that's cost us 2 points. So it happens.
Yeah. I mean, let's just one comment from a subscriber. So I think it's Lewis Morris. So hi from me and Reese, waiting for the bus up to Vienna, up the Reds. I mean, just going back to it, I think what disappoints me more is he's had actually quite a good start to the Sean Dyche era. He scored 2 goals. Yeah, one of them was a penalty. Doesn't matter. He's still got to put the ball in the net, as you say, Lee. The other one was a terrific header against Man United, and I thought he actually performed. His level was a bit more towards his standard of play in terms of being involved in everything. And so I thought last night, if he scored 3 goals in like 4 games for Sean Dyche, and you're going, like, if we're getting that Gibbs-White back and getting his confidence back up because he scored a few goals, you know what I mean? Then our team becomes automatically better, I think, because he is our like so-called talisman, isn't he? Like, that's what people like to label him as. So
yeah, and that's it. I don't want people to think what I've just said is just defending Gibbs-White for the sake of defending him. I think I am one of his biggest fans, and I think he's got a part to play this season with the position we're in. But the fact remains he has got to improve his performance levels, much like a lot of the other ones have. I just think because of everything that happened in the summer, every little piece of negativity that Morgan Gibbs-White does is intensified, and people like to come out with these lazy, "Oh, he's not asked anymore," which that sentiment straight away is completely flawed. It's a World Cup year, and he probably still does want to move at some point. So why would he not be asked about doing well for the club he's at? It doesn't make any sense. I actually think Morgan Gibbs-White will take a lot of pride in wearing the armband. Whether he's the right fit for the armband is another discussion entirely. But I actually think he will take a lot of pride in that. And I think it's incredibly harsh that there's lots of supporters for everything he's done for the club since he came that just seem willing to we get it. He's not in form. We get it. You don't have to turn around and absolutely annihilate him every time he does anything completely, misplace a pass or miss a penalty on social media. I just don't think it's constructive. But as I've always said, when you're down in the doldrums, social media brings out the worst in people. So I guess it's nature of the beast, and it's just something I'll have to get used to, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've already mentioned second half drab. We ended up with about 8 defensive players on the pitch because we had no other options by the looks of it. I mean, for me, I think I'd have chucked on one of the young lads if they were more of an offensive sort of player, but that's just me. I think maybe then, like, if you then go on to lose the game and they're on the field, they get unnecessary flack potentially. But you know what? They're in professional football to play these games, hopefully at some point in their careers. Whether they're ready or not is another question. But I thought Zach Abbott coming on, I know he played 10 minutes, and I've seen comments saying, "Oh, we only played 10 minutes against Sturm Graz, like I'd have done a job against them." But I just think, like, in the scenario he came on at right wing back. I thought he was going up front at one point, Lee, because I didn't realise that we had a free kick at the time when he came on. I was thinking he's going up front. Like, go on, the boy. I thought he didn't do himself any disservice, to be fair. He looks an absolute unit. Like, he looks like he's even bigger than he was when we played him against City in the semi-final of the FA Cup, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that in itself, what you've just said, you've seen people saying, it just proves that you can't do right for doing wrong. If he'd come on and cost us a goal, it'd be always not good enough. So what I want to see from a young lad who's not played for the first team all season, by the way, I don't think he played at Swansea, did he, Abbott?
No.
And
he probably should have.
I know the commentator said he'd not played also, but with some of the pronunciations of our players, the commentator was coming out with last night. I thought I'd just fact check with you instead. But yeah, like, all you want to see is someone who kind of, in 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was with injury time, you can kind of tell whether someone's up for the situation we're in. And I think Abbott showed that he is, because he didn't look fazed by anything. It's a European game away. It's not like he's being thrust on at the City Ground, a stadium that he's familiar with. He's coming into an environment that's probably pretty compact, quite hostile. And he just didn't look. He looked like if you'd never watched us before and you didn't know our squad, you'd think he was a regular in the squad and getting minutes everywhere. He just looks ready, I think. I just think I know it's only 10 minutes. Now, I'm not just saying he looks ready on the 10 minutes. I kind of said that he didn't look out of place in the FA Cup semi-final either, to be fair. I just think with the squad so threadbare as it is, I don't understand why he's not one of the options on the bench. I don't know who you'd take off it, because I think I'm sensing that Dyche does like to have quite a lot of forward options on the bench if we are chasing the game. But to me, you make room for him because he just looks ready. And I think if the worst happens, he's the sort of player that we might need next season. So you may as well give him some minutes now. I'm not saying he should be playing right back every single week, but let's face it, there is still some reservations over Savona defensively. So whilst we've only got him and Williams, I think it makes sense to have Abbott as the next man up.
Unless you're playing Jair there, and I don't know if he's comfortable playing at right back. I know he did in pre-season. I think I see him more as a centre half, Jair Cunha, to be perfectly honest. But I see Abbott more as a centre half. But I think he's someone that's quite happy to go and do that job for the team. Basically,
really weirdly, I know it's going back now, and he was a lot. Obviously, he's improved a lot since then. But when he played against Newcastle in the League Cup at the start of last season, he played centre half, didn't he, Abbott? And they scored really a lot early on, and it seemed to knock his confidence a little bit. I just think if he plays at full back, any mistake he does make, there's always typically Milenkovic to kind of cover and help him out. So I wonder if that's giving him a little bit more confidence in this current team. So, but yeah, I mean, you can only judge things on what you see, and maybe it's a little bit swayed by the fact that the performance in the second half was so drab, and then when he came on, he instantly won us that free kick. which was a free kick actually.
Put his head where it hurts.
That's it, yeah. I didn't think it was going to get given, but it looked a free kick in first time it happened. So, yeah, I just thought it was a really composed and mature cameo from him, and I think that's all you can ask. I get that people saying, "Oh, I could do better in 10 minutes. I could do as much in 10 minutes against Sturm Graz." You couldn't. That's just a rubbish social media line that people like to use because they played 957 times for a not senior league in Division 3 and think they've played the game. So, yeah, I thought it was good and he deserves credit for it because it wasn't an easy situation to come into, I don't think. Yeah,
I just think with certain players, I think they're getting flack. I mean, this is a new one as well. I think, and I've been asked to mention this because I think it's a good point. I think we've spent money on players, and it is a lot of money. Let's not beat around the bush, but it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of the Premier League. I think 25-30 million on a player now is seen as potential. I know we bought Murillo for 10 million and Igor Jesus for 10 million. We got lucky because the Brazilian league isn't so prestigious. You can probably get players a little bit more on the cheap unless they're like outrageous, like an Estevao or a Vinny Jr. But like McAtee, Callum Owendo, you're paying for potential for 30 million now. I think we need to sort of get that out of our heads that they should be hitting the ground running and doing everything. They've not had a lot of minutes, for crying out loud. I actually thought McAtee in the second half was much improved, and then he just ran out of steam and we ran out of ideas, and Callum Owendo picked up a knock, and first half he wasn't involved. Second half I thought he was a lot more involved, but got knocked around a lot of times and then ended up coming off because he'd not played a lot of football. And I think he knows in himself, and I think I've heard him say in an interview that he knows he's not going to be the number one striker immediately at this football club, considering he had a very good season last year for Rennes in Ligue 1. Not sure what you have to say about that.
Take myself off mute. Yeah, interesting points. I think with Callum Owendo, it's an interesting one because this is Forest all over though. Again, this isn't a scathing attack at our fans, but we're so kind of up and down with everything. Like, one good game is amazing. One bad game, just not good enough for this level. There's never an in-between. And I don't think people realise how hard it is at this level to play 20 minutes here and there and be up to... I get what people are saying. They're elite athletes, they're fit. But being fit and being match fit are two completely different things. Being fit and being able to go out in the morning and do 10K in half an hour or whatever, fine. That's not the same as being thrust into action for 90 minutes in a Europa League game. It needs to change. I think people like McAtee and Callum Owendo do need to get up to scratch pretty quickly in terms of their match fitness. I actually think for the international break, it'd be a good idea to get a Premier League team or get a Championship team to the training ground, maybe do it twice, once in each week, and just give these lads game time. Just give them an 11v11, get officials in, get people there, make it like a proper environment. Because it's going to help them build the fitness up. But I think Callum Owendo is an interesting one because I actually think whoever had played up front last night, it wouldn't have made a difference. I think you could maybe argue that had Jesus played, he would have done more, I suppose, what Harry Kane does in terms of dropping deep to get on the ball, but then it still leaves you without an option further forward. Had Chris Wood played, would he have maybe been on hand to tuck one of the chances away in the first half? Possibly. But in terms of how we got the ball to Callum Owendo in our open play and our progression, I just don't think it would have mattered. I think it was in some of the criticism I've seen. I've seen someone this morning say he's the worst striker since Selenzi. He's played, 40 minutes? I mean, come on, get real. I mean, it's just... I think in this day and age, people need to realise that players go on social media. And I'm not saying that everything on social media has to be sweetness and light and positive. Of course, we're fans of a club who've paid a lot of money to go and, watch these games and that sort of stuff. So you're going to get criticism, but comments like that aren't overly helpful, are they? I mean, I bet Callum Owendo doesn't even know what an Andre Selenzi is, but I think he'll get we've got Woan and Stone in the dressing room. I think they'll be under no illusions what is meant by that. So they just need time, but with the perilous situation we're in kind of... Well, not the Europa League's not perilous yet, but there's going to become a situation where we need wins. So it's when they're going to get the minutes. Obviously, Callum Wendo's third choice. So with Wood, hoping to be back on Sunday, I just don't know when he's going to play. I don't know if it's going to be one of them where he goes on loan suppose if we go down, he's going to get sold, isn't he? So it's a difficult situation for him. I know he understands he's not number one, but I just don't understand I don't really get what we're going to do to get him up to speed quicker. I think McAtee will come. I think he's a different sort of player. The goal would have done him the world of good early on last night, but like we said, whisker wide. But yeah, I suppose with McAtee, he's come from playing with world-class players all around him. Naturally, things are easier for him. He's got to be the man when he gets minutes for us now that dictates things. And that's, again, something he's got to get used to. But I'll finish with your original point. People are saying we have spent a lot of money, nearly 200 million in the summer, but we signed probably 10, 15 players at 20, 30 million each. It's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. Like you say, we have signed potential. It's not like we've signed 4 players for 50 million. If a 50 million player comes in, yeah, no matter how many minutes they play, you want them to be getting goals and assists or keeping clean sheets straight away. So, again, I think there's a bit of a flawed argument there with people saying, the squad, the recruitment's rubbish. The recruitment wasn't rubbish. It's just we recruited with the future in mind, and people have got to realise that, I guess.
I felt sorry for Callum Mwendo because when you actually look at it on paper, you got Dominguez at left wing, who's a central midfielder, who I thought actually did all right to like for a bit part of the game. I thought he was all right. First half, he was neat inside in, pressed really well, but he's not a winger. James McAtee is a number 10 playing out wide, and Gibbs-White, I think, struggled to get in the game a lot of it. And when he did, I think he couldn't quite get the weight of pass right or trying things a little bit too much and just wasn't coming off for him. So I think Callum Mwendo he had scraps to work off, to be honest. I just felt sorry for him, very isolated, and it is what it is. But we're going to get into some people's slept on it thoughts, Lee.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
Thank you for anyone that's got them into us. So James, Tick Gamer, main feelings after the game is McAtee needs more minutes, as does Callum Mwendo, both coming off of fatigue is worrying. Morgan Gibbs-White needs to be getting told he may be vice captain, but Callum Mwendo should have been on pens, which I'm not sure about because Gibbs-White's taken them in the past and does. Savannah Williams class. John was awful, worse than Turner. I mean, he kept a clean sheet. I don't know what more you want from the bloke, to be honest. Don't quite all agree with that, James. So fair enough. Carl, it's not a disaster provided we win the next 2 Europa League games. They are non-negotiable must wins. Gareth, disappointing not to win, but given the squad we had available, a draw is no disaster. Hopefully we have players with sufficient in the tank to get us 3 points on Sunday. Ian Finch, promising first half, but so flat in the second, shows the damage the Ange period has done to this squad when 2 players are cramping up after 60 minutes. Disappointing not to take all 3 points, but it's a good point, especially if they back it up against Leeds on Sunday. Bennett, usual suspects will say this was a good point, but it actually raises a lot of questions about the overall quality of the squad. Premier Elliott reminded me so much of the pre-season games with David Carmo and Josh Bowler. Other than that, Nico once again outstanding. Today's fact is after a Penguin has to be isolated due to health issues, zookeeper's in perfect keeping him entertained by and then binge watch Pingu. I quite like that. Johnny Ancliffe, dull as dishwater, or are going to be a long slog this season. Take 17th in the Prem and last 16 in Europa. I'm not going to repeat what he said at the end. Keeping us in function, this match embodies our season. Graz had 0 shots in the second half. They made Swansea look like Real Madrid. The most worrying aspect is how undercooked some players look a quarter away through the season. How have all the pillars from last season crumbled so fast? I mean, I think it's a fair point that Capanosity raises up. And I think Dyche has actually said this a lot in his pressers and post-match and everything, Lee, is we look unfit. And then we know that Dyche's teams run a lot, like run majority of the time, most in the Premier League. So I think that will come, but it's just so annoying that obviously he'd had 2 weeks, but he's going to lose quite a bit of the squad to international duty, you'd imagine. So it's going to be difficult to work with some. But I think the players that he needs to work with that aren't match fit are going to be at the training ground. So hopefully, like you say, get some friendlies in or something.
Yeah, I don't think the pillars have crumbled. I think that's a little bit extreme. I think the pillars that were so strong last season have shown signs under Dyche that they're still there. Certainly the defensive unit, considering we've still got Aina to come back into it. there is a question mark over Sells. I get that. That is one pillar that does look to be crumbling. The system, can't get my teeth in. The system and the style of play is going to be completely different under Dyche. I get that people think it's still very similar to Nuno's, but it's not. Nuno's happy to soak the pressure up and then go, full pelt. Now, without Elanga, that's going to be difficult anyway. So yeah, I think there's some good points in there, but I think that's a little bit of too strong of a sentiment. I think that the pillars have crumbled. I think it's confidence. I think the fact that we missed out on the Champions League has taken it out of a lot of the starting 11, because I think that's another thing we need to remember is exactly this. The strongest team pretty much is the same minus Elanga and Aina, I suppose, but he is still at the club, so he's going to come back. So there's still that. There's still an element that maybe they need to pick themselves off the canvas from that. But yeah, I think there's. I've been extremely negative this season, and I'm not sure the pillars have crumbled. I guess if we go down, the pillars have well and truly crumbled. But I don't think we're quite there yet.
I mean, you've told me a lot that you don't know where our next win's coming from. So I'm gonna dob you. I'm dobbing you in. I'm dobbing you in, Lee. I'm dobbing you.
We did beat Porto, so I suppose I can't keep saying that now.
No, I mean, I personally think we've got good building blocks because of what Dyche has done in the first 4 games. Like you say, 2 clean sheets, albeit, Graz and Porto, but we should beat Graz. Like on another day, we win that 2 or 3-0. Like you say, if we got Callum Hudson-Odoi and another winger, I think we win, or you got another striker to bring on, we probably win the game. So it's one of them. I think Man United unlucky, Bournemouth unlucky. So I think there's definitely things to build on. I think there's definitely that positivity. I think if we go into Leeds at the weekend, I think, and we win that game by hook or crook, then I do think some things start to slowly turn. Although I know we've got a difficult run coming back. We've got Liverpool and Brighton, I believe.
Just a bit of breaking news while we're on here, Adam. Gibbs-White's not in the England squad. Alex Scott and Adam Wharton have been called up instead.
I mean, is Elliot Anderson still in that, I'm assuming?
It looks like it, yeah. I've not got the squad. I've just had a message. Grealish is still not in there either.
I mean, Alex Scott and Adam Wharton probably deserve it, to be honest. So
they're doing well, aren't they, Bournemouth? So.
But I just wanted to speak about a couple of players from last night. I thought Sangare come back in. I mean, he's been frozen out a little bit since Chelsea, but I thought he'd come back in and I think he really took responsibility in central midfield, getting on the ball and actually trying to make things happen. Lots of people saying his passing wasn't very good, but I think he made 8 successful long ball passes, and I thought he actually tried to penetrate through midfield and stuff, and that's why he ended up making poor passes, to be honest. I thought he was excellent because his actual defensive duties were very, very good as well.
Sangare, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. His passing wasn't great last night, I'll be honest with you. But it was like you said, like you've just alluded to, his passing over distance was better than his passing 5 yards, which is Sangare in a nutshell, isn't it, really? He's another one. And I'm not just saying this because I'm in Team Sangare, I suppose. I think he's better when he plays. When he plays every week, he's better. When he has to go out of the team for a few weeks, then comes back in, I think he looks erratic and rusty. And I think last night I noticed where people get this perception that he's immobile from, because he did look a little bit leggy, for want of a better term, last night. But then right near the end, he did that really good. Was it near the end? It was near the end, actually. Yeah, when he chased the player all the way to the corner. He looked like he was going to commit a clumsy foul, and he just put his foot on the ball. And I think he won us a free kick or got the attack moving again. I really thought Sangare would be a Dyche nailed on starter. I don't know if I looked at his Everton team and just he does like bigger players. But yeah, he's obviously there's an interesting discussion to be had now, because I think, like you say, he's done okay this season, and we've now got a situation where we're probably not going to have Douglas Luiz for a bit. So yeah, I think Yates probably will be the one that gets the nod, but I wouldn't be averse to Sangare just getting a little run again, because I do think Elliot Anderson plays a lot better when Sangare is next to him, purely because Sangare is happy to sit there and let Anderson do his thing. I look back to that first game of the season when we were really free-flowing and really good, and I know that people have now decided that we weren't that good in that game and Brentford were just so bad. But that's got to be the benchmark still. And I think, I think I'd be swaying towards giving Sangare a go again if Douglas Luiz is out for a prolonged period.
Yeah. I mean, while I don't think Yates has been bad I thought against Man United he was good. I thought last night he wasn't particularly brilliant, but he wasn't bad either. I just think like with Sangare, what he gives you in terms of his ability to get on the ball and pass, and he's sometimes in tight areas he's quite good at wiggling himself out. I just feel like if Sean Dyche wants to have a progressive midfielder that sits next to Ali Anderson and can keep the ball moving, then is he not the ideal person? And then you've got Dominguez to throw in, so that makes, albeit he needs to get some match fitness as well.
The two things I would say about Dominguez and Sangare, which no one can ever use a stick to beat them with, is they always show the ball. Whether Sangare makes it... Last night he misplaced a 5-yard pass, and it was one of them where you just know if it happens at the City ground, there's grown men stood up booing and throwing the bovril at him. And literally, the moment I think Gibbs-White won the ball back, who was the first one to ask for it? Sangare. It's just, I don't know if people have noticed that, or if those that have washed their hands of him 2 years ago, just don't bother anymore. They just focus on the negative. But if you watch him, every time he loses the ball, once we get it back, if he's not the one that's got it back, he's always the one that puts his hand up and wants to get on it again. He's desperate to, get back to a positive, action again. So
I find that with Elliot Anderson a lot as well. Just doesn't hide.
Yeah, well, I think our midfielders are good for that. I do actually think our midfielders are good in that sense, to be honest. But yeah, Sangare does seem to do it a little bit more than people would care to give him credit for, I suppose.
But I think this is where it gives Dyche a lot of food for thought, because you know what you're going to get from Yates. You know you're going to get 100%. You know you're going to get commitment and hard work and everything else. But I just think, I've always said it, and I'm never going to not say it, but this is not me beating him too much with a stick, because I think he's been good at the last 2 games. I just think it's what you want in terms of going forward to chance create and everything else. Unless you play him in a 3 and you allow him to almost get forward a bit, because he is a lump, isn't he? And he's a bit of a ball magnet with his head. So some food for thought for Sean Dyche, which is good. It's good to have options, and it's good to have that headache, I suppose.
I was just going to say that, and again, this isn't I'm not beating him with a stick here, but it's just my opinion. I think if we play a midfield 3, I think Yates gets in. I think if you go in with a 2, I think there's too many flaws with Yates for me. I don't think he progresses the ball quick enough. I think he's there for his niggly stuff, and I think, for example, against a team like Leeds, where they're going to run a lot, we've got to match them for work rate and that sort of stuff. So that, again, there's an argument that Yates might be suited to that. But I think playing as a 2, when we turn the ball over, we need to put it on them quickly. And I'm not sure that's not Yates's game. Yates's game is kind of having a bit more time to pick a pass. I think if you're playing a 3, you can afford the luxury of him in there. I think if you're playing a 2, you want them both to be able to progress the ball pretty quickly. And Sangare and Dominguez just do that a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that lineup on Sunday, especially with players that got rested. If Hudson-Odoi's dead legs recovered, obviously Ali Anderson got left at home on his birthday, bless him. But he is in the England team, I've seen it, and he's in the squad. He'll be showing Jude Bellingham what's what, hopefully. But let's move on to that game against Leeds, Lee, because we aren't doing quite a preview for it. It's an interesting game. It's a very, very tough game, and probably, I don't know if would you call it a 6-pointer at this stage of the season, or definitely a must win at all?
Do I want to be that person that makes a must win statement after 11 games? With where our confidence is at, and the fact we've not won since the opening day in the Prem, I think it's got to be. It's close to must win. It's about as close as a must win game after 11 you're going to get. But what I would say from a personal point of view, this is like playing derby for me, because I've got absolute pelters from smug Leeds fans all season who have come up, started okay. So yeah, it's not what I'm looking forward to. I mean, if you could take me to kind of 4 o'clock on Sunday now, and I can just look at the result, I'd probably take it. But yeah, it's certainly a good fixture to have after a European game. I think home soil, a team that started well but have kind of struggled a little bit in recent weeks, shall we say. I think even Leeds fans have admitted they don't know where they're going to score goals away. They don't know where they're going to get points away. They're worried a little bit about Farke. So I think it is, as much as it's a good game for us, Leeds will probably be looking at it as though it's a good game for them to stop the rot on their travels. So I'm sure it'll be a cagey affair. I just hope we go on the front foot a little bit. I just hope we don't play this stereotypical Dyche sort of thing. He keeps saying he wants to attack, he wants to play on the front foot. Hopefully he does that on Sunday, because I think when a team comes to us and they're in such bad form away, I think if you can get an early goal, then it kind of just, they've had a week to kind of suss out their game plan, and it definitely won't include conceding early. So I think if we can get an early goal and just lift everything, then it could be a very fruitful afternoon.
Yeah, I just wanted to address the comments from John. He says, surely Anderson needs to withdraw from England if he's carrying knocks. He's not carrying a knock, John. He got rested yesterday because he's played about 1 million games of football since the start of last season.
I think as well, it's just worth saying on that. I get it. I get the fan notion is to say that sort of thing. It's a World Cup year. If you say to your manager, I don't want to come to this camp, he's probably going to think, well, I might not put you in the next one then. And do you know what? I might not take you to the World Cup. It's just our players think. He'll want to be in the camp. And obviously the best medical staff on international duty will have a look at him. If they think he's got a niggle, they won't use him anyway. So.
I don't think Elliot Anderson's got a knock. I
think he was rested. Genuinely think he was just rested, wasn't he, anyway?
Yeah, Dyche said he was in his post-match interview. I won't even read into that. Elliot Anderson's made a stern stuff for me, so I think he'll be fine.
We've already qualified anyway, haven't we? So I'm pretty sure that Thomas Tuchel won't want him to be getting any, if there's any sort of underlying issues that could lead to an injury, as the stats typically prove these days. I'm sure they won't risk him. They just want him part of the setup. I think it's probably good that if he is struggling with fatigue, he still wants him as part of the setup, and it probably drops a big indication that he's got one foot on that plane to the World Cup, I suppose.
Yeah, just going back to Leeds, I'm the only thing I'm a bit disappointed is I've not got one of their supporters to come and talk to, because I was interested about what they were going to do, because they were on about coming up and actually getting rid of Farker before the start of the season, which I find bemusing. But like, if you don't think he's going to be good enough to keep you in the league, then fair enough. But yeah, he's had a half decent start. They've won 3 out of their opening 10 games. So. But they beat West Ham at home. They beat Everton on the first game of the season, and they beat Wolves away. And everyone's beaten Wolves and West Ham apart from us.
They beat Wolves away, didn't they? Yeah.
So, but they've lost the last few games. I mean, they lost 3-0 obviously to Brighton, which won me your last man standing. If anyone wants to join, they can, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
They lost to Burnley, they lost to Tottenham at home, drew with Bournemouth, which is a very good result, lost to Fulham away, but they drew to Leeds 0-0, drew to Newcastle, Leeds did at Ellen Road. So I think I think that's a good start for a promoted side. I think we would have been quite happy with that start when we come up. So it's not going to be an easy game, especially with how we're playing. But for me, I think it's an important game that we go out and win by hook or crook. For me, I don't think I'd be that satisfied with a draw personally, because we're at home. I think the impetus is on us to go out and really take it to them, and I'd like us to see that. I think if we can start like how we did against Man United in the second half, I just think we'll have too much for them.
Yeah, I do. The one thing that Leeds worry me is the pace that they've got going forward. But I think they've shown this season in games. I think, did they beat Wolves 3-2?
3-1.
3-1. So they did concede. I weren't sure if it was 1 or 2 they conceded to Wolves. Yeah, they give me hope defensively, definitely. I mean, again, from the I do know a few Leeds fans that are all right, and those ones tell me that it's the defensive stuff that's the issue. But they do have a lot of pace going forward. I actually think Leeds will be fine this season because of their home form. I think Ellen Road I like Ellen Road. I think it's got character. It's not one of the new cereal bowl stadiums. And it's always noisy when you go there, as much as I won't say that too loud because Leeds fans will get even bigger heads. But yeah, I do think they're a good addition to the Prem. But they do fill me with a little bit of confidence. I just hope Wood's fix. I think their defence up against Wood could give him a bit of a confidence boost. But yeah, I know we're struggling. I know we've not won the league since the first day, but it's Leeds at home. You've got to be up for it. You've got to be. It's not arrogant for a Forest fan to say we think we should be winning this game because Leeds have just come up and we're in Europe. Let's face it. That's not saying I'm going to go to the ground saying, oh yeah, we're going to beat these. They're crap. They're not. They've started okay, and they've certainly started better than us. So it's going to be tough, but I do think it's nearly said it then. I do think it's a very nice game to have after a hectic week with Man United at home and then a European game on the Thursday.
What team would you play Sunday? What team would you like to see start Sunday?
See, I don't know how Leeds play. I know we shouldn't be focused on how they play.
So they've got they traditionally play. So I've had a look through their team, and that last game against Brighton, they played a 4-3-3 with Brandon Harrison out wide. I'm not sure he's a winger, to be honest. Against West Ham, they played 4-3-3 with again Harrison out wide. I'm not sure if that's like just because of what flash scores I've wrote, if they're not playing a diamond or whatever. Because I always thought he was more of a central player personally, but if he's playing out wide, then so be it. So yeah, they're traditionally playing 4-3-3. Bogle, Roden, Bijol, who we were linked with, Goodmanson, Tanaka, Ampadu, Longstaff, Aronson, Calvert-Lewin, and Okafor. So that's been like pretty much their consistent lineup for the last couple of games. So I guess they're going to pack midfield, aren't they?
They're going to pack the midfield. Do we do that, or do we just play with a 10 and get him to drop back out of possession? I mean, that's the thing for Dyche. I'd like to see us just do what we're good at. I'd go 4-2-3-1. I think the conundrum you've got is who plays instead of Douglas Luiz. Do we put Sangare in? Does he play Yates? The issue is he played all three of the players that could partner Anderson. He played them all in Graz, so one of them's got to dust them. I think it will be a case of whichever one's recovered better, who plays. I hope Hudson-Odoi's fit. I hope we've got some wingers. Hudson-Odoi and Ndoye. I suppose it picks itself a little bit at the minute with the options we've got available. The defensive unit, I can't see changing. Savona, Williams, Milenkovic, Murillo. Yeah, again, I think we're at the point where it kind of, especially after last night, where no one's kind of put their hand up and gone, pick me on Sunday. I guess it picks itself again, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think that's the only spot he's got is who partners Elliot Anderson if Elliot Anderson is fit, which I expect him to be personally. I think he will be, and depends if Callum Hudson-Odoi's out. I mean, does that mean Amari Hutchinson finally get his chance?
He's got to play him. If Hudson-Odoi's not fit, he has to play him because he'll be fresh, he'll be ready. We need to see more of him. The little bits and pieces that he has played, he's not done much, but I mean, the delivery he put him forward against Sunderland, if you just give him the remit of doing that 5 or 6 times a half, get it into that box. I think that there's a lot to be said for getting the ball in the box, and we saw on Saturday that when we do that, we can cause chaos with the players we've got. So, especially against a fragile Leeds defensively, he might be the perfect player to put in. Yeah,
if Hutchinson plays, would you want to play him on his natural left side, or would you rather play him on the right and then Ndoye on the other so they can cut in, or what?
Yeah, I think with how lethal Hutchinson's whip is, I'd play him on the right. The in-swinging whip, that's where he's dangerous, I think. I know we've not seen much of him yet, but I think that's his USP for me. I think get him doing that. I can't see a problem with Ndoye playing on the left. I think he'd be fine.
I think he played there a lot for Bologna. My issue is because we've not got a left-footed left back. I just think maybe Hutchinson on the left might provide that bit of balance, just because you can get it in first time almost, or if he gets a yard, he can just cross.
Yeah,
I think that might cause a lot of problems, like you say, early balls into the box. It's like when strikers shoot early and keepers aren't set, and half the time they get beaten by just an accurate ball. Whenever it could be a P roller, but because they shot early, it goes in half the time. Keepers aren't ready, are they? So I just think that with a defensive unit, if cross comes in so early and they're not ready for it, then more often than not you're causing panic. So yeah, going to be interesting. I mean, Ty will be back available as well. That's also, he's been getting minutes, hasn't he? So interesting to see
if Wood's fit though. Will he get on the bench? That's going to be interesting to see when all the strikers are fit, whether he gets on the bench or not. Has he just been plugging a gap at the moment? I sense that maybe he has. I think people have got this romantic idea that he's a Sean Dyche striker. I don't think I don't really see it personally, but we'll see.
Fair enough. Score prediction, Lee?
There's absolutely no way on this earth I'm predicting a Leeds United win. Again, I don't despise Leeds as much as I do Derby, but the fact that I know, God knows how many Leeds fans who they either don't go at all or they only go when they're in the Prem, which is ironic, isn't it, really, when best fans in the world and we take 19,000 to every away game. I'm going to go for a win. I'm not going for a draw either. Sod it. I'm going for a win. I think it'll be really cagey, really, really, what's the word? Nerve-wracking. But I'll go 1-0. I think another clean sheet. I think we'll build from the back again. And I think we might not score till late on, but I think we'll get the win.
I'm going 1-0 as well, by hook or crook.
What I would say is, I've just predicted 1-0, but what I would say is, I think the longer the game goes on, the more it actually suits them. I'd love us to score early. Just, like when what was the Derby game when we scored after like 2 minutes?
Bella Lawan.
Was it the 5-2
game?
Oh yeah, Ben Lawan, yeah. I seem to remember we scored quite early in the 5-2 game as well, but I might be wrong there.
We might well have done. Did Luke? I think maybe Luke Chambers or Tud Guy maybe scored quite early.
Something like that. But just something like that, just to give everything a lift, because that's another thing. It was the same against Man United. It's loud for 5 minutes because it's Man United, and then everyone's kind of a bit like, "Oh God, let's hope we don't lose 3 or 4 here." Let's hope that's the case, and let's hope we're discussing a big win on Monday morning.
Or Sunday evening, whichever one. Yeah, that's it. So I think we'll leave it there. I think it's been a good therapy session. I feel a bit better, and I'm shocked to be saying that because it's you, Lee, and you've been so bad. I don't think you'll mind me saying.
No, I listen. I have been quite negative. I do maintain I'm still that person who doesn't get too high with the highs and too low with the lows, but it's just been hard work, hasn't it? I think it's not even been I think if it was going so badly on the pitch, like Palace last season when it was going so badly on the pitch, but they're so stable off it, I don't think I'd be that bad. I think it's the fact that all this is kind of our own doing. I think that's what's made it really kind of hard to get up to go into the games again. And I know I'll get people saying, "Oh, I'll give you a ticket up then." I'm not saying I don't want to go. I love going to the football and I love seeing mates I don't get to see very often these days and that sort of stuff. But I've reverted back to liking that bit more than the football again. Whereas last year I was sat in the nav at, 1:30, 2:15. Other pubs are available, by the way. 1:30, 2:15, thinking, right, I'm chomping at the bit to get to the City Ground now because I want to see the match. Whereas now I'm kind of like, it's 3:15. Shall we have another pint? So yeah, it's like I say, one win will change all of that with everyone, though. I'm sure it will.
I think that's just nature of the beast, isn't it? That's with anything. Yeah. Do you like when it's like with work? If it's going absolutely brilliantly, you can't wait. Once one day goes bad, you're like, I don't want to go no more. And sometimes I can feel like that with this podcast, and I'm not afraid to admit that. It can't be all fairies and sawdust all the time, or whatever you want to call it.
And that's it. Like I say, if the worst happens this season, we end up going down, and we're not in Europe next year, obviously, because we've got relegated and it's been rubbish. I'll still be there next season. It's just, I'll never be that fan that just goes, "Oh, I'm not going anymore." I just don't think I'll ever be that person. I think I miss it too much. So let's just hope we can get a win. We play Liverpool away next, so we badly need a win. Especially with the gap as it is. So let's just hope we can get that win and get everyone happy again.
Yeah, definitely get that win. I think it'll be a good atmosphere because it's Leeds. Everyone hates them, and they always bring a full capacity of away end. So it'll be good. Hoping that we're coming back to talk about something positive on Sunday or Monday. But until then, we'll see you all. Thank you all for joining us. If you can drop us a like and a subscribe. Obviously, check out our sponsor, Trent Side Threads, trentsidethreads.co.uk. You get 10% off using our code. You can see that on the screen. But if you can't, it's RSOTT for 10% off. Check them out, and we'll see you next time. Come on, you Reds.